What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 117 of the Lombard Trucking Show. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate you tuning in to the last episode. Again, you can always listen to the Lombard Trucking Show, which does stream on the Reach Across America iHeartRadio channel every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, we are raising money all throughout the year and beyond for the Reach Across America nonprofit organization to honor America's veterans while also simultaneously raising awareness for the driver health epidemic going on. I'm training for a 70.3 half Ironman triathlon in Waco this fall, and we'll also be attending the Ironman Texas edition, the full Ironman in the Woodlands next April of 2025. For any more information you would like, if you'd like to attend, anything like that, you want to be involved, please feel free to contact me at any time. My contact info is always in the show notes. You can find me anywhere at Lombard Trucking. But episode 117 today, very excited for this one. I met this awesome gentleman at the Broker Carrier Summit up in Kansas City not too long ago. And he's a newer owner-operator, not a newer truck driver, but authority. It's been active since January. So we'll go right there. So newer authority and doing the good things, doing the right things, as any new business owner should be doing. He's attending events like the Broker Carrier Summit. He's networking. He wants to meet people. He wants to meet brokers. He wants to meet people who are going to help his business succeed. He's a smart individual, fellow tri-stater. Him and I actually have a New Jersey guy. If only could go for some Taylor ham myself right now. Him and I have a similar story of how we got onto the owner-operator wagon. Me initially going in as a contractor, obviously leasing on, but him going going full spend with his DOT and his authority. And without any further delay, let's bring him up on the stage. He's going to tell his story. We're going to talk shop. Glad you're here, man. Ilya Denisenko, bringing it to the stage. What's up, brother?
Hey, man, how's it going? Hanging out over here at the receiver in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, waiting to get loaded tomorrow morning. And just here to talk about all kinds of trucking and business stuff.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you're literally in the arena doing things right now in the field. What are you picking up?
Flooring material.
So some flooring material,
Yep.
and where's that going?
Going all the way, I believe, all the way to the top of Michigan. So.
Oh, we love the Midwest on the show. We're big Midwest respecters.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have you're going up to Michigan, tippy top. You're gonna be near Traverse City by chance?
I think it's even further. It's all the way at the top, and I know my next load, it's coming all the way down I-75, start to finish, basically. So.
Oh, that's a good run. I was going to say, if you had time in that northern part of Michigan, it's a good time of year. Hit up Traverse City. If you're watching and you're listening, you think Michigan is you just think the cars in Detroit. Google images of Traverse City. You're going to find it's a little slice of heaven there up in the upper Midwest. But when you go down 75, definitely make sure you stop down either at the 49er or Derby City South. I stopped at the Derby City South once, and man, it's like walking into a time capsule. The booths of the restaurant actually still have the phone jacks in the wall. The waitress was smoking a cigarette. It's just like it's a classic Americana. I loved it. But safe travels out there. Glad you got a good, safe parking spot for the night. But let's get right into it, man. Walk us up today. Where are you from? How'd we get here?
I'm originally from New Jersey. I went to culinary school, Culinary Institute of America. I have a degree in culinary arts and business and management. I ran all kinds of restaurants, worked all kinds of cooking and kitchen positions. I've been a dishwasher. I've done everything. I previously opened a multi-location restaurant company. We had a couple locations in Manhattan. We had a prep kitchen and warehouse in New Jersey that ran at night and prepped all the food and everything. And I basically opened the company with them, like, from scratch. So part of the interesting thing with that was, like, that carries it over into trucking is obviously efficiency. Everyone knows restaurants have like close to no margins. So you gotta like save every little bit you can. And also with that warehouse and prep kitchen, it ran at night. So I had to, and then distribute it to the restaurants in the morning. So I had to set up and create all the storage, all the logistics of everything, who's going to drive what to where, when, who's going to pick it up, who's going to do all that kind of stuff. All the inventory systems, literally every little part of like that you can think of a multi-location like distribution system was set up. Including the driving pretty often. I did that myself. Same as like this now, like this is like kind of my first like big business. Like I want to be involved in every step of it. Then I did the cooking with the staff. I hired them, I trained them. Then I went to the kitchen at night, did all the prep there, drove it. Like for a while there, I worked kind of 24/7, which I guess also carried over into here. So after that, um, basically like one of the funny stories was one of my friends had a CDL, and I kept sending like once in a while I'd come across like a good job ad, like the classic ones like $10,000 sign-on bonus, 100,000 a year, whatever. And I'd see them, and like I knew he wasn't working, so I'd send it to him. Eventually, I'm like, wait a minute, I like driving. Why am I sending it to him? I'll do this. I was like, it's the same kind of work. Like my schedule sucks now already anyway in the restaurants, except I like driving. I might as well try this out. And that's when I signed up with actually same as now. I made a spreadsheet comparing every company, their training, how long their CDL school was, like benefits, obviously, truck quality. I ended up going with Prime for the CDL school. I did training in Pittston, Pennsylvania. Um, got my CDL there. Luckily, I had, well, actually, I had two trainers there, but my first trainer, he was an old school driver from the 90s, and he set me up pretty well. He took me to basically every downtown city in America that you could think of. I've delivered to in training still: Chicago, Compton, LA, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island. So by the time my second trainer picked me up and he was scared to go to New Jersey, I feel like I kind of knew more than he did at that point,
Now,
which is
why
kind of
why
cool.
did you have two trainers?
The first trainer, he had like something going on with his family, so he had to leave in the last 2 weeks. So I had like just the last 2 weeks with the second trainer. So
How
we
long?
switched.
How long? Yeah, at Prime, how long were you? So, how long total were you with the trainer?
Uh, with the first trainer, I was with him. I think I was with him like 60,000 miles, 60, and that's exactly why I chose the program, because I feel like the other programs were way too short. Uh, like even if I felt comfortable, I was great at driving. I could back trailers all day long prior, like normal trailers. But I was still like, I want to get as much experience as I can before I go out, especially since they pay you in training, so might as well. And I think it worked out pretty well. So yeah, I did the training with him. I was a company driver for a little bit, and then just from having business experience prior, I was like, let me try out being a contractor. Like I have somewhat of an understanding of it. And in my first year, like I mean, I didn't do that great, but I think I came out with like somewhere around 80,000 in pay after all expenses in the first year, which was pretty good because
This
I
is
knew
with
nothing.
Prime.
Yeah, as a contractor, because I knew nothing about fuel efficiency. I knew nothing about savings. I knew nothing about like maintenance. I just went along with what I thought was best, and that was it. Like knowing that today, I wasted quite a bit of money, but I think that was pretty decent for the first year there, and
No,
that was why I was
that's
there.
not bad. Some people run aground. So you were doing like a lease purchase through Prime.
Yeah, not the lease purchase. It was just like the lease, like they have a program where you could just you're a contractor and you make a monthly payment for the truck, and that's it. And then you return the truck after, or you could buy it out. I was like, I don't know if I want to keep it or not, so I'll just do this for now and I'll figure it out. I mean, if someone has an idea of business, that's a good route. It's less risk, but if they have no clue about any of that, then it's a lot of risk and they're gonna end up losing way more money than they make. Um,
I think that's what Prime. I think that might be a lot of their main intention is they're not trying to lure in, and they don't want guys like you doing it. They're looking.
yeah. I don't know. My fleet manager still calls me to this day once every couple months to see like if I want to come back, and I'm like, no. But
Yeah, well, I mean, there's definitely got to be money in it with them, and I bet the fleet managers, I would imagine, their staff aren't. I don't think that they're malicious in any sort of way. I just think that the intent from high above, where it may have started as something, and this is just general opinion, where I think it did start as that as an option because more guys like you probably did it off the rip whenever that sort of hiring or
hmm
like whenever that basic essential version of employment happened, I bet it was with all good intentions of trying to maybe set guys up or quote unquote give them more freedom. It's just with how the industry works and who it currently recruits into it and who it
hmm
retains don't end up being people who wind up on the more successful end like yourself.
hmm I think it's also a numbers game too. I think they just have so many people that, like, the people that are just going smooth and steady without any issues, you don't really hear about them because they're just too busy. Like, regardless of whether they're drivers or fleet managers or dispatchers or whoever, they're just like same as like a restaurant. I could bring it back to that. If you go somewhere to eat and you have a normal, like, good experience, you're not going to say anything. You're just going to keep going. But if you have a bad experience, you're going to want to tell 20 people. That's the thing. That's why they want to fix their bad reviews usually. So, like, it's a numbers game. Like, anywhere a big company like that, if it's 1 out of every 1,000, that means they probably have like quite a bit of like bad people once in a while, and that's
True.
who we're going to hear about usually.
No, that makes sense. So you do the contractor thing. Now where do you go from there?
Then as we spoke earlier, the whole time I was driving around the country, kept my eye open for where I wanted to move. I was in my late 20s. New Jersey was getting more and more expensive, and I was like, got to move some. Like, I kept seeing places that were cheaper but also better, and I landed on Murfreesboro, Tennessee, just because of all the trucking that goes in and out of here. There's a lot of flexibility. The people were nice. You get a lot of value for your money. Um,
No
and
state
there's
income tax.
Yeah, and there's trucking everywhere. So that was the whole thing. So came over to Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I drove for Martin Transport out of the Walmart warehouse there in a local daily position there. Worked my way around there. From there, they actually lost their contract there out of that warehouse, so I switched over to Atomic Transport. And this is like, I wasn't that interested in this position, but also half of it was like kind of interesting to me in a different way. This is driving trash from the transfer station in Nashville to a landfill back by Murfreesboro 4 times a day round trip. So the job itself was rough, but also the schedule was Monday to Friday. I was home usually by 3 or 4 p.m. every day. I was off weekends. The pay was insane. Like, the pay was crazy good. And the cool thing was it was hourly pay for the first time, so I got to experience that.
Hmm.
Um, but also the skill I got out of that job was awesome. Like, that's probably like I don't even know where else you would get that kind of experience, because we drove a lot of the trucks we would have to go on the scale. A lot of them were 100, 110, 120,000 pounds. We would have to go landfill. Obviously, you're going up a grade. It's all dirt. If it doesn't matter if it's rain, snow, whatever. A lot of times it was mud, complete like mud pouring everywhere. So 120,000 pounds up a grade in mud. Then you get up there, you have to reverse up this ramp. If you go 1 inch this way or that way, you're going to blow tires or break rims because it's so heavy. It's going to be more than a blown tire. So, and a lot of times, like, we started so early in the morning, you get up there, it's pitch black. The ramps, people hit them all the time. There's fog or whatever. Like, you're literally reversing 120,000 pounds uphill in mud, and you have no idea. There's nothing back there. I told the guy, I was like, this is literally like just like gambling, and like I got pretty good at it. That was the crazy thing. I almost never got stuck. I took the skill out of driving in New Jersey, like driving in the snow, whatever. You just never stop. You just keep going and going, and like you learn how to handle it. So that's what I liked about that. The job was rough, but the skill I got there was insane.
No, that's awesome. That's a worthwhile experience. And for anybody out there who gets to listen to this, so the name of that
hmm
company is Atomic Transport.
Yep. And
And they're all,
they're all over the South. I think there's a few a little bit north. There's a lot of them in Kentucky. You see them driving around. They treat their drivers well. One of the things I saw they did that was different from other companies that I liked, and this is something I want to implement into my company when I hire drivers, is they had a person that was a lead driver. So he did a few runs himself every day, but he was part of administration. So he was that middle person, and he took a lot of the problems away. I'm sure you know that, like, there's a big disconnect usually between dispatch and drivers because they're doing their thing. There's a disconnect. He was the person in the middle that would take care of all the problems and the misunderstandings before we ever like heard about them.
this is actually really awesome. I'm gonna have to reach out to somebody. They sound like a good outfit. So yeah, if you're down south, you're looking for more of a local gig that gives you some
Hmm.
rock solid experience. That's good to know. But kind of moving from that, what I mean, that right there sounds like a match made in heaven. I mean, good job. Obviously, career growth, like an opportunity to advance within the company, even elevated as a driver. What? How come you're not still there?
Well, there's a lot of talk in the county here that they're going to close the landfill eventually, and that was about the time. This whole time when I was driving for Walmart and at Atomic Transport, my friend Christian and I, we were thinking about trying other businesses like side work, whatever. We started an online e-commerce store. We sold like pet products, a couple other things. We are like playing around here and there, learning about online sales, all that kind of stuff. We were thinking about maybe doing some other businesses. We looked at like gas stations, convenience stores, laundromats. I personally, like, 4 years ago, actually, or 5 years ago, towards the end of Prime, I was when I drove, I would listen to stuff 10 hours a day, obviously, same as everyone else. But I was like, you know what? Like, this is wasting time. So I took the entertainment out and I switched it into business, trucking, anything that I can learn from. I actually heard it on Kevin Rutherford's show on Let's Truck. He was saying, like, there's a lot of people that weren't aware of stuff. He was like, you have 10 hours a day to learn about stuff. You could get a college education. So, I mean, I didn't sign up for any courses, but I just switched the content that I was listening to. So, towards the end of Atomic Transport, I was like, you know what? Like, at this point, I've been driving these many years. I've been listening to business, trucking, finance, startups, all this kind of stuff for 4 or 5 years now. Is like I could easily apply that and start my own thing. So
Yeah, so
that's
you kind of got the itch. I mean, you'd already what's great about this is, I mean, you already were an entrepreneur. You had already, gotten involved with the restaurants. You're
hmm
working with one of your good friends, and you're setting up, stuff with e-commerce. So you clearly have the entrepreneurial itch. Like, so the idea of always remaining a
hmm
company guy is probably not a forever thing. And
that
so
was the
you're,
other thing too. Yep,
yeah,
exactly that. Yep.
yeah, it's just like you knew you had the potential. You had done it in a what I would think. I mean, personally, not to discredit trucking or saying starting a trucking business is easy, as I think any of us know. If it was easy, I'd probably still be in the truck. Uh, but I'd say the restaurant industry is cutthroat. I mean, yeah, razor thin margins. I mean, and then it's the restaurant industry. I think sometimes suffers from, you know, it suffers from a lot of turnover. It does
hmm
suffer from, I think, a talent problem sometimes. Like you're not always hiring the best people. I think.
hmm
I mean, I have plenty of. If you have friends in the restaurant industry, you know that the hours that they work and sometimes the extracurriculars that can come with it. Not saying you were involved in that, you were running the business and you were doing like kind of more of a logistical side of things, but like
hmm
working at a bar or restaurant or nightclub, the extracurriculars, that bartenders, servers, and stuff can get into, at least the
Yep.
drama and all that sort of stuff. I'd say it comes at least being an owner operator at the end of the day, especially if you're just at one truck, like right now, you don't have to deal with like two bartenders you started dating and then one cheats on another one and then they're bringing illegal drugs into the restaurant or
Yeah.
it's stuff
That
like
that
that.
that was exactly my thinking when I was switching over. Was in restaurants, I was still working all nights, all weekends, all holidays. The pay was bad, even that high up. And there was all this other stuff to deal with, which was fine. But like, if I'm looking at trucking, the schedule's about the same, sometimes actually better. It's more comfortable. You're living in your and working in your own space. You're interacting with people, but it's not the same. It's not anywhere near the same kind of interactions. So it's and you make way more in trucking. So it's like it's a good crossover.
Yeah, that definitely better outfit from there. So, I mean, what I like about, well, your story and where it's going is you get out with a business partner, similar to, it's very similar to how I started. You have a friend who's outside the industry, good with accounting. You guys have clearly gotten into business before. I had the same thing. Best friend of mine from high school. It was more so his idea. He's the one who was very interested in starting a business. Me, I cared more about like making content, making the show, trying to reestablish a Lombard brand, especially one that kind of had to do with fitness. But I'm not ignorant by any sense of the means. I knew I could run a business, but financially, I knew I couldn't. I had some coins saved up. That's why him and I went in together. But same kind of thing. You had a friend. You guys went in together. You underwrote the business, and similar to kind of like now me, I came in a little bit sooner, and where rates were still decent, fuel prices had started to surge. But what I like about you and your business partner, because a lot of times when it comes to getting into business, going in when times are bad is normally when you want to do it. For kind of just like the stock market. You're not gonna you don't buy high and sell low, so to speak. When the market's down, that's when you kind of gotta be like, okay, let's get in, learn, tread
Exactly.
water, and then when the upswing happens, and that's when you guys basically had jumped in. So you start, you get the, when did you get your truck?
Bought my truck in December, got my authority January 11th, and it was exactly what you said. The previous year, when I was still working at Atomic, I would hear all the time. Well, first of all, I'd hear from who would be my competition, is the other side of the owner operators that I'm sure everyone knows about. And one, I would keep thinking, okay, this is my competition. If I could work the opposite from them, I could do a lot better. Plus, two, what you said, I've heard a lot of other people say, if you start out at the bottom, first of all, the only way is up from there. And you just got to work smart. You got to be efficient. You got to not waste money, and you should be okay. Because like uh, you hear all the time too, someone's gonna make money moving freight. Like it has to go. No one's gonna do it losing money. So as long as you're like efficient enough, you're gonna be fine. So that's why we went into it then. I was like, the first year's gonna suck no matter the market anyway. So might as well just do it then, establish ourselves, learn, and part of the strategy too is prepare for the worst anyway. Like I think we forecasted for like a few months of just dollar a mile freight, and that's what we were prepared for. Because I was like, okay, it's not going to get worse than a dollar a mile. Um, so that's what we prepared for, and that's what you got to do with any business anyway. Like, isn't I think most businesses they say they fail because of lack of capital in that first year. So you're going to need it anyway. Like you open a restaurant, you open a store, you open a laundromat, you open a car wash. How do you know how many people are going to come in every day for the first year? You don't. So you prepare for no one coming in because that's probably the worst case. So that's what we did. We prepared for the worst, and slow and steady, things are going up for us. Just trying to hustle, trying different strategies, speaking to different people, seeing if this works, if that works, different lanes. Couple months I tried local, regional. Now I switched back over to like longer routes like that, and that's actually working out a lot better now, even with the bad rates. Yeah, that's that's what it looks like right now.
No, awesome. I actually, so before we kind of get into some other stuff with the market and even some of like marketing stuff with your business after, I got to ask you, only for, especially for the drivers who are watching. So, and if you don't want to say it, you don't have to, but what kind of truck are you driving?
I have a 2020 Volvo with 608,000 miles on there.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I looked around quite a bit, and I found a guy with a small fleet in Memphis, Tennessee that has, I think he has like 50 trucks or something like that. and he buys them new and sells them when the warranty runs out. And his trucks seem pretty spec'd out pretty well. So when I do keep buying more trucks, if I buy a used truck, I'm probably going back to that guy.
Now, what? Yeah. So okay. So the dealer was a factor. I was basically, I was wondering, like, when you were thinking about trucks, like, what did you have in mind? What made you go with this one? Was it just best bang for the buck? Is there a reason you pick? Is there a reason you picked Volvo over anything else? I mean, like I said, we don't. You know, it's always a hot topic with trucks in there.
Right.
People got their qualms with the plastic. People got their
Yeah.
qualms with the white Volvos. Obviously, come with a stereotype with our strong solo Sergeys of the world. But what was your how come you guys ended up going with the Volvo?
Well, I'm not a Sergey, but I'm Ilya, so I know some Sergeys. But it wasn't planned out like that. My first choice originally was a Cascadia, just because I've driven those more than the rest. I knew what the errors usually would be. I knew which were actually problems, which weren't. I knew like how to troubleshoot stuff. I knew how to fix quite a bit of stuff with them. That would have been my first choice originally. But I figured out not figure out, but if you look at a used Cascadia like 4, 5, 600,000 miles, you know that one box is going to go out. So I mean, yeah, you can plan on it, or you could get a truck that doesn't have that. That was one of the reasons I switched over to the Volvo. And two was just because like I don't know if like the quality of the driver is different in a Volvo versus a Cascadia or what, but they're usually in much better condition. They weren't mistreated as much. The specs were much better from what I saw. Basically, like what you said, you get a lot more for your money for the same amount of money. You just have to like do the research. You have to do that oil sample. You have to look at the ECM report. Uh, you have to look at the idle time, all that basic kind of stuff, and then you should be fairly safe.
Nice. What's your fuel mileage looking like? We're big fans of Jamie Hagan, Hellbent Express, and he's the Mac respecter. He's
Mhm.
he's Mac loving himself. He boasts of the fuel efficiency. What are you looking at? Volvo's in that same wheelhouse. How are you looking?
So I did all the standard stuff for efficiency that people talk about. I got that fleet air filter, the air dog. I did the boost leak test. I did the what's it called the OPS. I do the oil samples, all that stuff. So fuel economy wise, when I ran local regional and out of Tennessee, I was in the mountains quite a bit. All the stuff I usually had was pretty heavy. It was uh, probably average about 45,000 pounds all the time. And then I was averaging 8.4 miles a gallon. Now that I switched back to over the road on the highway, I'm in the mid to high nines usually, depending on the routes, almost regardless of weight. So,
Nice. How fast you normally going?
usually I go about 60, probably average, sometimes 61, 62, sometimes 57, 58, 59, depending. I usually, not usually, I almost never have issues with time unless like I get stuck at a shipper or receiver crazy long once in a while. But other than that, I haven't really had any issues. So,
Well, there you go. You're not the first driver to come on here and talk about the speed. There's a lot of I know Jamie gets a lot of hate for it. They're like, how do you make money? But I can almost attest to speed not working for you. If you're getting paid by the mile, and depending on how you're running, and especially if you're doing drop and hook and you're a company guy, yeah, going as fast as you can go or as fast as your company will allow you to go, clearly gets you more money. But I mean, I found, especially when I was doing oversized or anything flatbed, none of what I hauled then was expedited. So, like, there was never any sort of rush. And not only that, like, if I had a load, for example, that I had picked up on, a Thursday afternoon, and it was going, it's basically 1,800 miles, I'm not going to get it there by Friday, and the place is closed on weekends. What am I doing by getting to that receiver quicker? For the most part, I mean, I'd get there early on Sunday anyways, and would still have to wait, and I'd be able to get a long run in or something. But even when I was hauling dry van freight, like a lot of times I would be I would pick up a load on a Monday morning. The delivery time would be for Wednesday morning. It would be 700 miles away. So it's just and depending on the shipper receiver, I would find out some places I can go early and stuff like that. But a lot of times you can't get in early. So what am I doing if I'm picking up on a Monday morning and it's 700 miles away? Why do I need to go 70? So to speak, it doesn't really make any sense, when it comes to it. And from the business standpoint, the owner operator side of things, yeah, you got to look out for that fuel because it's dollars out the exhaust from there. But speaking of dollars, though, what was awesome, my favorite part about your guys, you and ICV Express, was when I met you at Broker Carrier Summit, your business card. First I've ever seen it. I'm not sure if you're the only. As of right now, you're just the only one I know of. We'll have to see if anybody can chime in on the show. But you have an interesting marketing, technique right there on your card. You're giving something away for free, and this is super rare. And essentially, now what's your promo? What's the perks?
I basically took it over from basically going to Broker Carrier Summit. I was thinking of I was like, okay, we're probably going to be by far the newest authority there. No one's going to want it. If they talk to us, we have to get our foot in the door. We have to stand out somehow. So I was thinking, same back to the other businesses, how do they generate business? How do they get new customers that may not be as interested in them? And usually, especially with restaurants, you give out a free sample. You let them try the food. If they like the food, they'll keep coming back. Or worst case, if they don't like it, okay, whatever. You kind of had your foot in the door. You let them try the experience of dining with you. So I came up with the idea, and we decided to try out was, if it's whoever we sign on to work with as a broker, we'll do the first short run under 500 miles for them completely free, or if it's over 500 miles, we'll do it 50% off. And that's a benefit for both sides. It's less risk for the broker, and it also gives them a chance to see how we work. My thing is customer service. Like I said earlier, I literally have 2 degrees in customer service. I'm more experienced in customer service than I don't know who. But everywhere I go, I make sure every person I interact with is happy. And a lot of times they hear back about that stuff. So it helps them get a little bit of experience of working with us. And 2, it helps get our foot in the door. I don't think one load for free or 50% off is that big of a deal for a broker. But at the same time, if they see that we do work different than the average truck driver, communication, tracking, whatever, professionalism, all that stuff, then they already know we have that quality there. We're already in their system, and it's easier for them to just keep working versus picking up a random carrier here or there. So,
And no, I think it's probably one of the most fascinating things I've heard from anybody who is an owner operator, because I mean that's any business out there is differentiating. What's crazy about trucking is the product of the truck moving freight. It could be a 1985 cab over hauling something from Walmart to a Walmart DC, hauling something from a manufacturer to a Walmart DC. It doesn't matter if it's a cab over or if it's a 2024, Peterbilt 579 or what have you. It doesn't matter, so to speak,
right.
From the outside looking in. If it gets there, it gets there. How do you differentiate from that? And I think that's where it becomes really hard in this industry, because from the broker perspective, you're right. I mean, if there's any brokers listening, they don't care. I mean, they don't care who it is, what it is, just that it gets there, period. So how do you make that matter to them? Because to them it doesn't, because brokers got to move X number of loads a day. They got to do this. They just got to make sure it gets there. They don't want to get yelled at by their customers. They don't want to get yelled at by shippers and receivers. It doesn't matter, hell or high water. Somebody could take a horse and carriage and bring it, as long as it just gets there. They don't care about the driver's name, whatever. Especially if this is like a young kid who's at TQL or whatever, and he's 22 and he's working his first job. It doesn't matter. He's just trying to get the job done. So how do you make that different? But at the same time, for the driver or for an owner operator, it's just well, who cares? Why should I go above and beyond? All I need to do is just get the job done. what is going above and beyond going to do? Nobody's going to even care or recognize it because all they care about is it getting there. So it kind of like feeds this double side of things. But you went and did it anyway, which is really cool. And I know I'm kind of like, kind of going off on it. But have you acted on that bargain? Have you hauled a load under 500, or have you done it 50% off yet?
We haven't had to. It was like so far it's just been like a great conversation starter. And every broker was like that saw that they're like, oh wow, like they talked about it and they're like, not like we don't need this, like we'll just work with you. And like just from the conversation they saw the attitude and the quality of work was different, and that was more than enough. They saw like with that card, they saw we were different, we were trying to do things different than the average driver. um and that's the thing, like the average driver, I think, not the average but quite a bit of them, I think, fail to see who their actual customer is. uh like if you're starting a business, if you're generating customers, if you want to generate revenue, you have to think about what the customers want, what their problems might be, and how you can solve those problems for them before they happen. And here in this case, it's you got to like put yourself in the broker's shoes. They get a million calls a day from who knows who, like that found them on whatever load board. Like they don't know who that driver is. They don't know what they're going to do. They don't know anything about them. So if you offer communication, if you offer tracking, if you offer professionalism, maybe a reference, like something that to solve their problems of quality of driver. They don't know where the driver is. The driver might be annoyed when they need to track the shipment or whatever. They don't know if the driver's going to be late or early, like whatever, all the typical stuff. If you just say, no, I'm always early. No, like if you want to know where the stuff is, I'll let you know. It's no problem. Because it's like same as I said earlier, putting yourself in their shoes. They don't care where you are. They don't care about anything about you. They just want to know that their stuff is going to be there on time, and that like no one's going to drive away with it. That's about it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And see, I mean, just right there, I mean, for anybody listening, like it was a conversation starter. And at the end of the day, nobody like, and it's almost, I mean, I can't even think of the word escapes me, but I mean, like you have that on there. You would do it for free under 500
Mhm.
miles. Like you would probably, you wouldn't, take back that, you wouldn't, take that back on it. You would do it, but nobody even wants you to do it anyways. They're still willing to pay with you. They're like,
Mhm.
no, we'll work with you, which is like that right there. It gets through the gate, gets through the gatekeeper, gets you in the door because, which leads me to my next point. You're coming up on that 120-day mark. You're coming, your authority is 6 months old now. You said it was January 11th.
Yeah, it's about to be
We're
6 months.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
about to be 6 months, and I know that was probably your biggest hurdle up front is finding who you can haul for off the rip. Try because that's the thing is a new trucking company. Crazy is so you had 4 years of driving experience before you got the truck, correct? So I
Mhm.
mean, and this is what I've always said too, is like it's crazy. Like say you're a guy who's been driving for 10, 20 years, and you're like, say you started driving when you're 21, and all of a sudden you're maybe 42, 43, and you're like, I'm gonna go hedge my own way. And then you get a truck and you get your own authority. And it's like, well, you're too new. And it's like this guy's got 2 decades worth
Yeah.
of trucking under his belt because his authority's new. So it's this odd double-edged sword because I get it from like this business credit liability sense. But at the same time, when you've been doing it, and then I mean, you just listed that experience, which is some pretty cutthroat experience with atomic transport of operating the dark, heavyweight, overweight stuff, working in sort of not ideal conditions and still getting the job done.
Mhm.
Like you have that on your resume, but it's not affiliated with your DOT number. So kind of like, yeah, how'd you manage through that? Those first couple months, who'd you have to, I mean, is that you were basically, calling the TQLs and of the
Yeah,
world?
that's the thing. It seems to be that it was right when I got my authority. Everyone started extending their requirements for authority longer than it used to be. I had a few people that were nice enough. They tried to reach out and help out. They had like a few lists of companies that worked with new authority, and everyone I called on that list had extended it quite a bit. And honestly, like if someone's going into it now, probably like the only ones that'll take you under 8 to 12 months are just CH Robinson and TQL. And that's it. Like not Amazon. Amazon's 180 days. Here, I'll give you the list of what I got here. Uh, Amazon was 180 days. Schneider's like 8 months. Uh, Pepsi's a year. Um, Coyote was like 8 or 9 months. Literally, they're all extending it. I thought Amazon would have been the easy one. No, they're 180 days. I was like, that's kind of wild.
It is wild given some of the carriers who do haul Amazon's freight. Given those that track record, and it's definitely. I think a lot of people out there, especially in the brokerage space, would agree. It's definitely a way to. It's a way to constrain. It's a way to constrain the market. It's a way to try to curb. I hate to use the 2020 term to slow the spreads, to stop the curve, or whatever,
Yeah.
break the curve, where essentially you're trying to deter new authorities from entering the market, because that became a problem, was new authorities entering the market, driving down rates, also not helping safety, because it's a lot of new authorities. Not, I think a lot of authorities that opened between 2020 and 2023 are probably people who got into, like, and we've talked about it, they probably got into trucking because of YouTube. Like, they were like,
Yep.
they saw one guy, they're like, I went from one truck to 5 trucks in 6 months and all this. And then so, two guys got together, like, I'm going to get my CDL, and then we're just going to get a truck, like, off the rip. And so I think that's why those brokerages did it. I don't think they want to. I think a brokerage, like any business, wants to sell more freight. I mean, they want to, but they're at the point now where they're not. It wasn't making money anymore. It wasn't making them money. Obviously, we're seeing losses, we're seeing layoffs, we're seeing brokerages going out of business. They're struggling too. At the same time, maybe not as much as somebody who lives in a truck, but I mean, they're still, in a way, from a financial standpoint, still struggling. But you push through it. You did the right thing. So, I mean, that's the thing. You attended a place like Broker Carrier Summit. I mean, that's what's so great about that event is, and I can't wait for the next one that's going to be happening in Fort Worth. Is like,
Yep.
that's the next, that needs to be the next step for people who are going to be hanging around this industry. It's like, you got to start looking at,
Yeah.
you got to start looking at trucking like it's a business again. Like, you and your business partner, like, there's a lot. We were talking about this offline. The guy who posted on a page, on the one of those Facebook pages, he's like, I'm thinking about getting a truck and a trailer and running local in Arizona. And I asked him, do you have any customers that you're going to haul for yet? So he's asking about specifically hauling local in Arizona. Now, me, I've been to Arizona. I've hauled out of the mines up in Miami. I know that there is flatbed work. I've delivered ACs there, but I mean, that was all over the road. And when he says, no, I don't yet, I don't know how, and I don't know why it needs to be said. Why would you start a business if you're not going to know where $1 is going to come from? Like, why would the thought cross your mind of thinking about just getting a truck and a trailer and winging it? Like, and it's just like, I'm just gonna send it. I'm gonna go in a bunch of debt, pay an insurance company, take out a loan, get this truck, buy a bunch of diesel, and I'm gonna see where it takes me. And it's not like selling T-shirts, because you can just take a couple $100, buy some T-shirts. Nobody buys them. Give them away to your friends. Whatever, you try. Not, you possibly ruin your life. But kind of moving forward. That, so you're moving on. You're going through that 6-month mark. You mentioned hiring drivers. Kind of, let's talk about. There's some inklings out there. Craig Fuller's been tweeting about it. There's some inklings. There's some positivity flowing of, things hopefully turning around. In my honest opinion, I think it's going to be after election time. That's what a lot of people at Broker Carrier Summit. What's kind of, what is the future? Like, not necessarily a perfect world, but essentially where are you looking to go within the next 1 to 5 years? You mentioned hiring drivers, career path, building this out. Yeah. What's kind of been your game plan?
Well, right now we're trying to network with as many brokers as we can. Like, ideally, I'd like to work with like a handful of small to mid-sized brokers, and basically establish like a few routes or whatever lanes working with them. altogether. And that's kind of why we did that discount offer thing on our business card, was because the goal is long-term work. So one load, even for free, it's nothing compared to like years worth of work together. Like it's going to be literally nothing. So that's why we were happy to do that. And even right now, like as bad as some people say the rates are, if you're efficient, like it's going to be no problem. I've done pretty okay with TQL and CH Robinson. Um, Even in the beginning, like I said, right now we have a few brokers that normally require a year of authority. We work with them already for a few months now since the Broker Carrier Summit. Even CH Robinson, their system is pretty good. They have a few tiers in their, I think they call it the Carrier Advantage program. You just basically have to do their tracking, you have to arrive on time, and you'll just move up pretty quickly. And that's the better paying freight, that's better clients, better shippers, better receivers, all that. So you can do pretty well there too. But even right now, like if I'm looking, my average rate last week was 226 a mile for all trips. The week before was 204 a mile. The one before was $1.91 a mile, and before that was $1.92 a mile averages. And those weeks were all fine profitability wise. That's including fuel, that's including maintenance, that's including like maintenance fund that I put aside money for, truck payment, all that stuff. And that also includes a certain amount of money I pay myself. So even with that, if you're efficient enough, like my first truck, I didn't go buy a new truck. I only spent on this Volvo, it was $48,000 on it. So like it's not expensive, but it does the job, and it's not gonna break as often as some of the other trucks, hopefully.
Mhm.
But that's what you got to do. You got to follow the people that are operating efficiently, that are still working and are still happy, even in the down markets. See what they're doing, and you'll be fine regardless of the market kind of thing. But for us, we're looking to network, make some business partners, work together, and then once we have some steady freight, like consistently for quite a, or not quite a bit of time, for a certain amount of time, we're looking to get some drivers, get some trucks, and then work together. And one of my things is I want to keep driving, keep doing operations stuff with all of them. That way, same as restaurants, you can't be running the restaurant if you're not in the kitchen with everyone, kind of thing.
Yeah, no,
So.
that's awesome. And yeah, and as you build those relationships and you get that steady freight, that's when you can start talking, because at that point you can start financing other equipment, because if you build
Mhm.
these relationships, essentially you'd be like, because if that broker's like, well, hey, you're doing a really good job, I want to keep giving this to you. I can also, if you happen to up your capacity, like you can have those business conversations where like, hey, this we have actually have X number of this loads per month. And so if you add capacity, we'll pay you this, especially if you're
Mhm.
able to give this quality service. So at that point, you can go to a bank and be like, hey, we have this contract with, when you're able to show a bank that you have a contract for something, that's when you can kind of start getting into the water of adding that stuff, which is
Mhm.
that which is essentially where you want to go business wise. That's awesome. Maybe like I said, I've had this thought kicking around too. I was talking about it with Trey, speaking of the Broker Carrier Summit. Maybe this could be years down the road, especially as I like develop within the fitness world. But like, because I'm always going to keep my CDL, but essentially, what like I've kind of seen myself possibly, in the future of where I'll go work for trucking companies, drive for them, but work as a personal trainer while I drive. Whereas I
Mhm.
drive, I live the lifestyle again, like I did, and pump out a bunch of content working for their
Mhm.
company, and it becomes part of their onboarding for like a company. So like when a new driver goes to their like, so if like you're going to orientation, basically like one part of orientation is they watch my content of me living the lifestyle they're about to
Mhm.
live and how they should kind of live it healthy wise.
Yep.
Maybe I do that when you guys start adding some trucks. We'll have to have some synergy on there. Anybody listening, by the way, that's an idea I'm kicking around. If you want to help me fund it, we can talk offline. But
Yeah,
yeah, well,
I'm into all that stuff too. I do the Monday to Friday when I leave. I do carnivore diet. I got a couple 30-pound dumbbells. I do all kinds of workouts. I used to have a personal trainer 2 times a week. I try to do all the same kind of exercises that he used to have me do in the gym, just with the dumbbells. Uh, I'm sure everyone knows with the trucks too. There's quite a bit of stuff you do daily. If you just position yourself right, you could do it the same way. If you're pushing a pallet jack, just stand there the same way, position the same way as people do, like with the NFL training and all that stuff. You could do literally all the same workouts for free.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. You're singing my tune. We might have to, speaking of personal training, you're a carrier. We might have to connect. He was at Broker Carrier Summit for a bit, but possibly you could be another test or pilot for Mark Manera and what he's got going on at Off Shift with his health coaching, which is always good. But it's good to know, and for anybody out there watching, you can see Ilya right now, owner operator, newer authority, still got the dumbbells with him, still watching what his food is, which is paramount. And hey, at the end of the day, when you do what you're doing right now, you said you got the dumbbells, you're doing the workouts, you're mindful of your diet. Look at the other stuff that comes along with everything that he's been saying the past 50 minutes with his business. I mean, he's focused on his business. He's looking at growth. He's functioning in a down market, and that stuff applies when you're watching, when you're watching what you're eating, when you're taking care of number one. When you do that, I mean, that we're talking trickle down effect. So got to plug the fitness in there.
Yeah, you physically feel better, and the rest like gets better results because you eat the crappy food, you eat the fast food at the truck stops, whatever. You're physically gonna feel worse. So it's harder to get up in the morning. It's harder to stay motivated. It's harder to be energized. You eat better, you feel better, and the rest of it's gonna be better.
Bingo. We got it on the record. And I know, I'm glad we touched on a little bit of fitness stuff. But yeah, when I say at your end, I mean, or ask you on your end, how's the parking scenario been for you on your end? I know, parking is an issue that we got to not stop talking about because it is still a problem. Whether it's I'm on KXAN or not. But yeah, have you run into any parking issues? You got any qualms with the ELD? Ever have any big issues with parking so far?
Today, I say today, even like probably within the last 5 years, there's so much technology. There's so many apps for everything. It's easy, in my opinion, to park. Like, you just do the standard thing as you should everywhere. Like whatever plan you like. First of all, plan at all. Some people seem to not plan anything. Make any kind of plan. Okay, I'm delivering here, picking up here. I'm gonna drive this far, and I'm gonna stop about here. Then obviously, same as everything else, make a backup plan. Make like a plan B, plan C, plan D. Open up that trucker path app. Okay, rest area. If that's full, I'm gonna go to the next truck stop. If that's full, I'm gonna go over there. And like you could see the history of when stuff fills up there. If something's full, if you're going to be in the busy area, Northeast, if you're going to be in Atlanta, if you're going to be in the big city area, maybe you should pay for a spot. Like that's a small price to pay for versus driving around for 2 hours looking around for free spots. Like that's your time, that's your energy. Pay for a free spot. Like that's no problem. Let's mind like peace of mind kind of thing. And obviously, I got the truck parking club shirt here. That's another awesome tool. Um, they got better paid spots than the truck stops do. Their spots are fenced in. They got the cameras, they got the lights, they got facilities there, and they're easier to get in and out of. So that's just another tool that I have that I use all the time, especially like I mentioned Atlanta before. It's a good area for them. Um, Better option than the Petro in Atlanta there. I'm sure everyone knows. But you just make a few you make a few options for yourself. One of them will work out.
Yeah, the Petro in Atlanta is avoided. It's one of those avoid at all costs. Like it's definitely that's a place I definitely don't want to hang out at. And I learned my lesson. I had to stay at the Petro in Gary, Indiana once, and it was when I was fairly new. And I was like, and me being an idiot, I was like, well, it's not like anything bad happened. The parking lot was very well lit, I'll give it that. But I was like in front of my truck doing a kettlebell workout. And like there was this like roving security guy, like there was a security car driving around, and that probably should have like set off some warnings in me. But I was just, I was like, got to get it in or whatever. And like, but seeing a driving security car that came around probably every 10 to 15 minutes, probably should have been like, oh, maybe they were looking for something, or maybe there's problems. I mean, you could hear the gunfire from that Petro. And then I had seen a bunch of TikTok videos about the Petra in Atlanta, and I just avoided it at all costs because I mean it's just not where I want to go. But yeah,
and that's
yeah,
after you spend a ton of money to even get in there. Everyone knows you got to spend at least 25 in the store. You got to get 60 gallons of fuel. And then that's just to maybe get a free spot that's always full. Then on top of that, you got to pay for the reserve spot because that's not included in that 25 you spend. And they
yeah.
don't have security in there either. You're still going to get bothered by random people coming up to your truck.
Yeah, you're still going to get screwed with it. I agree with Truck Parking Club. I mean, what they're doing has been nothing short of great and magnificent out there. And I know Evan, personally, I consider him a really good friend. And I mean, his end goal and like a lot of his future goal is definitely more free parking, like to try to make parking more affordable and free overall. And at the end of the day, when you look at the prices, it's not. The prices to use a Truck Parking Club location aren't bad. And again, when you underwrite it, when you factor it into your load, or what you're paying or something like that. I get it on company drivers. Sometimes companies don't reimburse, but even as a company guy, I paid for parking, and the peace of mind, it was worth the 15. I'd say at the end of the day, you're going to get it back. You're going to get it back somewhere else. You're going to get a bonus somewhere else. You're going to get detention maybe.
They're not taking free spots that were free. They're by far the majority of their spots in their system. They're at places that you wouldn't have parked at originally. They're at warehouses. They're at parking facilities that weren't really on the map before. All they're basically like the end result is you're going to find more options than you would have found before. That's what you're going to end up with.
Yeah, they didn't exist. The spots didn't exist before. They exist now, which I think is the better deal. But man, this is a great conversation. You're well spoken. Wise beyond your years and words. Your experience definitely is your life experience is definitely kind of transcending into, or your life experience. It would transition into everything you're doing in trucking. And I know you probably, in my opinion, do you deserve more money for what you're doing and for your job and everything like that? Absolutely. I mean, nobody's going to say that you should get less money. But what I can confidently say is based off of, this conversation, meeting you and your business partner at Broker Carrier Summit, everything now within this down market for a guy like you, for the story you just told, is definitely going to pay off. And in return, there's no doubt that you're going to have those drivers that you're going to be able to pay soon. But before we got a few extra minutes before we jump off. Where can a broker find you? Where can people find you? Where can other truckers find you? How can anybody give you a holler, pick your brain, watch your content, or anything like that?
Well, biggest spot is on X, Millennial Trucker without the E. There's another Millennial Trucker with the E. Also, I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Ilya Denisenko, or look up the company ICV Express, ICV like Victor, or you can email me icvexpresstrucking@gmail.com, and I'm easy to reach there. I'm pretty active, so reach out whenever.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on. We're gonna have you back on sometime soon. We'll definitely get you on. We can have a little round table here in the future too. We'll get some other drivers on here. We can chop it up and do some driver BSing, do a little happy hour action or something like that. But I love what you're doing. Keep going out there crushing it. Stay safe. We'll bring you back on here soon. I'm going to walk this one out.
Cool. Sounds good, man. Have a good night.
You too. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Amazing story right there from Ilya. If you're a broker out there, you work in this space, help this guy out. This is an honest man doing some honest business out there in an industry that doesn't have the most, honest people out there. Few and far between. Very hard to find guys like Ilya and his business partner out there doing it. I mean, if you couldn't tell by listening to that last conversation, well deserving of the business. He wants to work with people, wants to work with good people, and obviously wants to work with you for a long time and give you that good quality service. Once again, I'm going to sign this one out. If you want to donate to REITs Across America, please go to www.reitsacrossamerica.org/Lombard. Help us out honoring veterans. And again, talking about the driver health epidemic out there going on. More to come on that and more content and episodes to come. I got a lot of great announcements, great guests coming up. But with that, appreciate you guys, especially you guys tuning in live. We're going back to the bench. Take care.